Hey guys, we're back here again today at Hardracing doing the KTM RC390 project bike, and today we're going to be installing this dynojet quick shifter onto the bike. And the quick shifter basically allows wide open clutchless shifting. So just close your eyes and think about this. You're holding the throttle wide open and you are just shifting up through the gears without letting off the gas and without pulling in the clutch, just like you see the MotoGP guys do and the World Superbikes. Basically any road racer these days that's out to win is using a quick shifter. So to really show you how a quick shifter works, it's best to do a little video snippet here. Just notice the rider's left hand on the clutch. He never pulls in the clutch, and you'll never hear him let off the gas as he upshifts through the gears. So now he's downshifting. Now watch, left hand never moves. So you're still shifting with your foot, but you never have to pull in the clutch and you never let off the gas. Because it's the fastest way to get through the gears without having to let off the gas or pull in the clutch. Just no way around. About 65 milliseconds is what it takes to shift. So that's pretty much on par with as fast as you can go through the gears. And the beauty of it is all you do is the same thing you always do. Just push your foot either down for GP shift or up for a standard shift, however you have it, and it does the rest. But you just basically hold the throttle wide open and pound through the gears. And what it does is that sensor here senses the shift and sends a signal to the power commander to cut the fuel and the ignition for a split second, basically 65 milliseconds, and unloads the transmission, which allows the shift to go through without hurting anything. But meanwhile, you've never let off the gas and you never pulled in the clutch. And a lot of you might think, well, yeah, that's great for racing. Obviously for racing it's pretty much a must-have, but honestly, we have it on all our street bikes. Pretty much more and more of the top-end street bikes now are coming with it already. The BMW, the ZX-10, the R1. They're more and more, because that's what people want. Having the ability to shift through the gears without ever pulling in the clutch or let off the gas when you're upshifting is just so nice. You know, you hit an entrance ramp or you leave a stoplight, you just want to go. Biggest thing, I mean, for us is getting on any kind of interstate or entrance ramp when you just want to gun it is just awesome. It's such a thrill. But even when you're just cruising, we use it a lot. You know, just when you lazy, you don't want to reach over, you just shift. You don't have to be wide open throttle. It works best when you are, but you don't have to be. You can be 3/4 of a throttle and just pop it in and boom, you shift in and you're good to go. So definitely something nice to have on the bike. You do obviously have to have a power commander to control this system. That's what this plugs into, but it's really an easy install. You basically have a rod on your bike right now, a shift rod, and you're going to replace that with this sensor and then a rod similar to this or to this, depending on your application, and it screws in line with that, and it becomes basically you want this overall to be the same length as your stock rod is now. So depending on what ends you have, depending on what shift rod you have, there's many options that we offer of different rods. These are extra, but that's what you get. Some people, if they have the ability, if they have tap and die, they'll just take their stock rod they have on it now, whether it's rear sets or aftermarket or stock, and they'll just snip off this much of it and just thread it back on and you're good to go. So that's another option, but for most people that don't have access to taps and dies, then you just get the auxiliary, basically these extra rods here. You just only need one, usually one or two, and then you just screw that in there and make the rod length the same to match your stock one. And we'll show you how quick and easy it is to install it. So as you can see, we already have these ridiculously awesome driven rear sets installed, and that's our shift rod. So if we just screwed that in the end of it, then this would be so long that this would be way over here and the pedal would be way up there. So that's not an option. You can't just screw it in there because you just added 1.5 inches of the rod. So basically you either snip it here and then tap the end and screw it on, or you use one of those optional rods that we just showed you a second ago, combine them together, and you want it to be the same length from here to here as the rod that you're currently using. Whether it's aftermarket or stock, you're just trying to match the length of the rod that you currently have. And then all you do is just thread that on there in the system, run the wire up to the power commander, and set your parameters, and that's it. I mean, it really truly is a quick, easy install. Alright, so real quick, before you take your rod off, set a point of reference where your pedal is now, so that way once you put the new rod on it and you're threading it all back, you're not having to guess, because it is kind of a pain when you have your shift pedal exactly where you like it, and then you take off the shift rod, and then you got to thread it all back in, and then you're a little 1/2 inch too high, too low, and you're out there riding around, you're like, oh man. So just take that as a point of reference, measure it, write it down, so that way when you put your new rod back on and you thread it all up, that you can put the pedal exactly the same height as it was previously, save you a little bit of headache. Alright, so once you've removed whatever rod you're using, whether it's stock or aftermarket, you would align it up with your quick shifter and one of the A, B, or C rods that you purchased, and you match it up to the same length. And basically now this rod is the same length as that rod, but it also has a sensor in line with it. And now all you're going to do is just put that on your foot controls, run the wire up to your power commander, set the parameters, and you're good to go. So the easiest way to install it, since you obviously have a wire on here, is to screw on the sensor first by itself without a rod. That way you can take this wire and just continue to spin it around freely, because you obviously don't want to damage the wire. Now you could also just remove that heim joint and just spin that onto the sensor, but either way, whatever works easiest. The most important thing is just don't rip the wires out of the sensor. And when you're done setting it, you really want to have the wire like that, pointed down and in, so it's no way it can get tugged or anything. We've never seen somebody rip the wire out of these things, but it's still better to have it like that, as opposed to having it sticking out like that. Alright, next you're going to take your rod and just barely start it right between the two of them. Don't thread it all the way on one, because then you're going to unthread on the other one. Basically, as you turn the rod, it pulls those together. So make sure you have it evenly here and there, so as you spin it, it pulls them evenly, and you don't have way more of one rod in and not of the other one. So the whole point is you want to have plenty of the thread inside the rod, so you have full engagement. Now you'll set it and match this again back to your measurement you took earlier, and just tighten down the jam nuts in the front and in the back. Tighten them down good with a wrench. Here's a little tip for the install to hide the wire. Run it there. Obviously zip tie it to the knuckle so that it can't get yanked on this ever. And then run it back behind the shaft, and then all the way on the inside along the cover, and it comes out here. This is what it looks like on the inside. So it's basically along there, a flashlight here, on the back side there, and all the way up behind the frame. That way it's nice and tucked up out of the way, and when you do that and you put the cover on, just make sure You give a little tug on the wire both ways to make sure that the cover isn't crunching it back there, but it should be free to slide up and down lightly. Alright, so once you've got the wire run up into your battery box, you're going to hook that into the power commander in the number 3 and 4 hole. Basically just take your power commander loose, loosen the screws, and put the wires in there. Alright, so on the back side of the power commander, there's a bunch of little baby screws here. And starting from the wire harness working your way out, the first two are defaulted for your map selection switch if you decide to add one. The next two are going to be your quick shifter. And then the last three are auxiliary ones for like speed, crank, and analog out. So the only ones that you need to worry about, again counting from the middle out, is going to be the third and the fourth screw. So you're going to loosen those up a little bit. And take the quick shifter wires, push them through the holes in the back again, like we mentioned in the wideband. Make sure you're putting them in the right holes, 3 and 4, and push them till they hit the membrane, and then they'll pop through, and you should have almost no exposed solder. And then you tighten them down. Again, snug, but don't strip the screws, and give a tug. If the wire does not come out, you did your job. Again, just give it a wiggle so it pushes through that membrane, and boom, you'll feel it slide all the way in. Tighten that one down as well. Give it a tug. And that's it. That has now complete your install for the quick shifter. It's that easy. Now all you gotta do is turn on the dynojet software, the power commander software, activate your quick shifter, set the parameters, which are pretty much all set already for you, and you're rocking and rolling. We'll show you that next. Alright, so once you've got your power commander software open, you're going to go up to the power commander tools, and the quick way to do that is Control F. That pulls up your features. And as you can see here, these are all the different features you have. Activating your map switch, quick shifter, accelerator pump, start fuel, rev extend. Obviously if you had issues starting your bike, you can adjust that. Rev extend, boost raise the rev limit. Auto tune switch, which you don't really use. The auto tune, which is the wideband commander that we already installed. As you can see, we have that checked. Launch control, yep, you can actually set up launch control on this if you really want to go crazy. And speed limiter, if you wanted to give the bike to somebody and make sure they can only go so fast. So today we're going to do the quick shifter, and you're going to click that, and you're basically telling the power commander, hey, I've got a quick shifter on. Make sure it says switch 2, which is where we put the wires, and then you go to configure. And most of this is going to be all set up, and you don't even really have to mess with it. I know there's a lot of options here you're looking at, but you really, Dynojet makes the point to try to do everything ahead of time for you, so that all you pretty much do is just activate it. So gear dependent, meaning that each gear you can control the kill shifts. Each one's already predetermined at 65 milliseconds, which is pretty much spot on for almost everybody. You can always tweak it if you want, but honestly we recommend just using it as it is. Try it. You're going to find probably 99% sure, yep, that's good, and you won't have to mess with it. It's better to try it first before you go messing with stuff and then get yourself all confused. So try it as it is, but all these options are already going to be preloaded for you, and you pretty much just look them over and hit OK. So basically this is indicating what kind of sensor you have, the minimum RPMs before it gets activated, the interval in between activations of quick shifting, killing your fuel and your ignition, which is really important to get the best shift, and of course all your independent kill shifts. Hit OK, and go over here and hit OK. There's our fuel map, and ignition map, and then you go ahead and send map. The bottom left corner says send successful, and you are rocking and rolling. Now you go out and you just enjoy yourself. Enjoyed our video, please be sure to give a thumbs up. And if you'd like to be notified for future videos, be sure to click subscribe so that way you'll get an email when we post new videos, because we're going to have a whole bunch more for this bike. And if you have any questions, comments, or product inquiries, give us a call, send us an email, check out our website, and we're also on forums and Facebook. And we will get you taken care of.